Hi guys, I am literally just sitting in the snow with all my winter gear on, waiting for the horse's water trough to fill. And I'm thinking about the element of water. And I thought I would just do a quick video on connecting with the elements. Just a couple of my favorite tips if that is a sticking point for you or if you're always working to connect with them more deeply. So, regardless of the spiritual path that you're on, the elements can be really powerful to tap into, to connect with, to understand fully. They're pretty universal. Every culture has a way of working with the elements, even if they're named a little differently or if they are worked with a little bit differently. So, I just think that they're so universal and they can be so powerful. My first teachers, one was really used a lot of alchemy to heal generational patterns. My second teacher, she is very much an elemental witch, and she really helped me step into my power with the tarot and things like that. And the elements are just so powerful and benefit. That's all. I don't even know what else to say, right? And so, regardless of what type of spiritual path that you're on, I think that really connecting with the elements is something that is accessible to everybody and can be really, really powerful. I also know that some of them can be a little slippery to fully understand. For me, it took me years to feel like I had a grasp on some of the elements, and um, every year I still peel away more and more layers of all of them. So for me, it's earth, air, fire, water, and then we could have the fifth element of spirit. Like I said, different cultures, different religions are going to name these differently, but they're kind of essentially boiled down to those. Some traditions have more elements, things like that, but they all kind of have, those are the four or five I'm talking about when I talk about the elements. My biggest tip, really, for starting to really understand the elements is to watch them in nature in your region. So wherever you live, actually watching the physical elements and how they impact the environment around you, I think is such a powerful, beneficial place to start when it comes to really trying to understand understand on a deeper level the elements before we start to get into, well, air is of the mind or water is element of, emotions or whatever. So now I've got my two guardian dogs hanging out. But I think before we get into any of that, what the elements represent and how can we use them on our paths is to really understand them in their literal physical form and how they impact the environment around us. So, for example, we can look at how each element contributes to fertility or to growing new things, how it contributes to destruction or making way for new things, how they interact with each other, what happens if there's too much of one or not enough of another. So, for as an example, like it's snowing here, like you can literally see it's snowing and we have a lot of snow. And snow is water. Snow is frozen water. So if we're looking at the element of water and trying to understand it, which is one that was very slippery for me, I had really walled that element off. We are looking, if we look at snow as the element of water and how it's interacting with the environment, we can see that it's accumulating, right? The more snow we have, the more water we'll have in the spring. It has a protective effect on our plant life and our water sources because it helps to insulate, in my region, helps to insulate the ground from the drastic temperatures, cold temperatures. It later in the spring, it will contribute to our groundwater supply. It will help to temper wildfires. So not enough snow can actually in our region be problematic. However, too much snow, right, the wildlife starts to struggle to access food, or certain wildlife would struggle to access certain types of food because that's going to be very specific to the species. But it starts to impact, if I'm looking at my life, it starts to impact my travel, my ability to take care of my animals, get out of my house, do my things like that. It also really absorbs noise. So when it's snowing and there's snow on the ground, it is silent. It is so quiet. It's very peaceful. Now, if we have too much snow, again, perhaps in the spring we have a lot of mud. And then if we get more water in the spring, do we have too much water? What does that look like in your region? Do you have flooding? Do you have mud? Do things get stagnant? Then we need the wind to come in to help dry it out, or fire, perhaps in the sense of the sun, right? Where the sun isn't literally fire, but you know where I'm going with this. In our areas, we can have wildfires. Now, not like they see out in the western United States, but we do have wildfires here. Wildfires can be extremely destructive. However, they also clear paths for new things to grow. Little game of wrestle back there. Wildfires also create space for new things to grow so that new plants can access the sun. There are certain types of seeds that don't open unless wildfire comes through, and the heat will help to open the seed pod. So while fire can be very destructive, it can also be critical for the environment to function the way that it does. If we look in my home, we have a wood stove. I could look at how do the four elements literally work together to heat my home using the wood stove. I have earth with the logs. I have fire with the flame itself. We have air because fire can't work without the oxygen. We also have a little fan that doesn't even require electricity. It's so cool. I'm such a geek. I think it's so cool, right? And I understand how it works, but it's neat. And then that helps to move the warm air out. However, the fire also really dries out the house. So we tend to put like a thing of water on top of the stove to evaporate into the house. So you can see how you can just go circular and circular. Okay, so if we have too much fire, if we have not enough fire, if we have too much earth, if we have not enough earth, if we have too much water, not enough water, if it's too windy, too much wind. A few years back, we had a big windstorm come through this area and take down a ton of trees. Yes, it was destructive. It also made way for new plant life to grow, like I said. So I could literally just keep going and going and going in circles in how the elements all interact. But I think that really watching them, there you go. My phone stopped recording for a second. If we start by watching the elements in their literally in their physical form out in the environment around us, that can help us to really start to understand them as a really solid starting place. So for water, I used to be like, well, oceans and lakes, but water is also rain. It is also mist, and it is also snow. And that was my way into understanding water on a deeper level, was to really just watch it out in the environment. And then as I was starting to do that, then I started to see the benefit to wind, to air, which I have an interesting relationship with air, especially in its wind form. But when we have a lot of water, I find myself going, okay, I need a sunny, windy day to come dry it out because we've got too much water. So anyway, that's just kind of my little rambly tip here for starting to really understand the elements, or to get a newer, deeper understanding of them if it's something that you're struggling with, or to just continue to understand them on a deeper level because they can be so powerful and so impactful for any type of spiritual path or practice. But yeah, I don't know. So I'm just sitting here thinking about the snow, watching my water trough fill, and thinking about the elements on the physical plane here and how they interact with each other. And I think that that is a really great place to start before we start to get into what do they symbolize, what are their associations, and all of that type of stuff. So I hope you found this helpful or interesting. I hope you found the dogs entertaining. You guys want to say bye? Say bye-bye. I hope you found the dogs entertaining, and I will see you guys in the next video. Have a great day.